one play really determine the outcome of a game? I'd argue that this happens more often than people think, but when it happens on the biggest stages, as it did championship weekend in the NFL, where the Saints obviously are out, where Saints fans are outraged over the missed PI call, this question naturally popped up into our heads. Now, maybe the Saints game was a bit of an anomaly because a bad call is a bad call, but that doesn't change the fact that a lot of fans, when they remember big games, remember the big moments in the games that change the outcome of the game. Now, I think that there's a politically correct answer to this question that maybe your high school coach told you when you played, basketball back in the day. I think Matt might go into that. But I also think there's a completely valid argument on the other side as well. So, Matt, why don't you start first with because I think I know where you're going with this. Why don't you start and tell us with what you think about this topic?
Overall, I think one play can be a determinant of a game in certain circumstances, but I think in majority of the cases, it's just a multitude of different events that occur either before or after that specific play that everyone remembers that really determines the outcome of the game. The two examples that we'll get into after everyone kind of gives their overall opinion is the 2016 NBA Finals, whether LeBron's chase down block or Kyrie's dagger three were really the determinants of that whole game, and the Cavs championship. And then also the New York Giants Super Bowl, which I know Scotty is really close to. David Tyree, like the helmet catch, I will kind of get into that as well. So.
Yeah, I feel like if you logically look at a game, obviously a game is just a summation of all the different plays, and the product is that. But I feel like the psychological aspect is really what I look at when two teams face off at each other, and I feel like you can absolutely demoralize a team by one play, and that is what causes the one play to be the play, because the plays thereafter are affected by that singular moment. So for example, that David Tyree catch was just so unbelievable, for example, that you could argue that the Patriots were just completely out of it or shell shocked and I feel like everything, it's funny because it's like that one play changed everything, but the plays that followed it were the reason why the game went the way it did. So they're very intertwined, but I'd argue that obviously all plays matter, but there are plays that just completely change the game and are the staple for the game.
Yeah, I think that's where Miles wants to go to.
Yeah, I think this doesn't happen often, but in full agreement with Nate. Yeah, I'm a big believer in one thing that happens in a game is kind of creates a ripple effect. Like, I'm a big guy in terms of momentum, and one thing can really change the game, and that's why so many plays are so important. One play is so important to every game, and each and every play matters just as much as the last and the next. Because teams really ride on momentum and kind of how things are going. Without getting too much into this, I'm also a big believer in just the fate and the way how a game goes. So when we kind of get to the discussion, I'll get into that. But I think one play absolutely can have an effect on the entire game.
Yeah. Okay. So why don't we start with the example that Matt brought up first, with the LeBron block in the Golden State Warriors series in Game 7. So when people recall that game, they remember LeBron's block and Kyrie's shot. Yeah. But you're arguing that those two plays, although they were huge plays, didn't determine whether Cleveland won or lost that game.
Yeah, exactly. So with 3:40 left in the game, it's tied 89-89. Final score is only 93-89. So in the last 3 minutes and 40 seconds, the Warriors didn't score a point. They missed 8 straight shots. Steph missed 4 threes in that time period. My argument is that that's just the Warriors playing bad basketball is the reason they lost that game. I don't think it was necessarily Cleveland and those two specific plays that determined the game. And if you actually go back to the LeBron block, there's 150 left on the clock when he made that block on Iggy, which would have put the Warriors up by 2. Obviously, tie game still. LeBron comes down, misses a pretty wide open layup to go ahead. So in fact, even though he did get that big chase down block and prevented the Warriors from going up 2, he actually came back down in the next possession and missed. So it's still tied with the Warriors coming back down with the ball two plays later. So that's my whole thing is yes, that's a big play, and yes, it prevented the Warriors from going up 2, but it didn't actually help Cleveland's chances of winning because they came down and missed the next shot.
Now, maybe my memory's wrong, but I thought that he missed the layup and then sprinted back and blocked. Is that not what happened?
No, so what happened was Kyrie, the play before Iggy, so Kyrie missed a floater, bounced off the rim, Iggy grabbed it, ran down, got blocked. LeBron came back, missed a hook shot, and then Steph came back next possession, missed a wide open three. So then, and then the next play was a Kyrie dagger.
Okay, but we'll just stick to this example quickly before we move on to another example. What would have happened if LeBron didn't block Iggy's layup though? Because I think that's why Golden State Warriors and like basketball fans remember the play so much, is because if Iggy makes that layup, they're thinking Golden State's taking this game. But LeBron prevented Iggy from making the layup, and then Kyrie makes the shot, and Cleveland wins the game.
I think the entire Cleveland Cavaliers were invigorated by that block. Like it was a classic textbook LeBron block, and you needed it at that moment, and you could feel it across the world when he blocked that shot. You almost knew that the Cavs were going to win, because yes, LeBron missed the next shot, but the shot right after everybody missed for 4 minutes straight, both sides. You're going to tell me LeBron missed one hook and then Kyrie just happens to drill a dagger three? Like, the team was invigorated, Kyrie was feeling it, hits the shot, game over.
I personally don't agree with that, because in the span of 4 minutes, both teams made one field goal. So yes, Kyrie made a dagger three, and it happened to be 2 plays after that block, but I think overall that's just a shooting slump for both sides, and just one shot happened to go in.
What I'll say though to that is that maybe you didn't know that they were going to win the game based on the block, to what Nate said, but at the same time, it pushed momentum in a way that even by him missing the shot, they still knew they were in a great position to win the game. So it's not even that he missed the next shot. Like, I don't think they were demoralized by that. I think a lot of people kind of, I'll say, sticking to their team, like, they're brought up by the block, you know, like really energized, and then even though he missed, they still use that to kind of propel him to keep going, to think, okay, we still have a chance, we still have a chance, we still have a chance.
Yeah.
And I think that overrides any sort of missing, or even what Golden State was doing. I think even if Golden State hit another bucket, they still would have potentially tied or won the game, just on the fact that they had momentum on their side.
I really think that because there was such a shooting slump, like if you guys were playing basketball, like I missed one, he missed one, I missed one, he was. If you see your opponent missing and you're missing, you're not as like, you're just going toe to toe. It's as if you were both shooting and making it.
Right.
But what put them over the edge was that invigoration by that block, and then LeBron missed, but Kyrie then after hit the shot, and that's all she wrote. So I feel like I don't think that's coincidental. You know what I mean? I think it's that was the moment where the tides turn, and that was the play that won the game, the block, and that'd be my argument.
Yeah, like I obviously understand where you guys come from. Just personally, like I don't think that one play was like, hey, LeBron blocks it, they're gonna win.
So I guess, not to sort of make it an obvious discussion, but do you think that the shot, regardless of the score, do you think the shot was bigger than the block?
Shot was 100 times bigger.
Oh,
I don't think the shot's related to the block at all. That shot is not.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. The shot is independent of the block, but I think but I think their team morale was dependent on the block, not.
Which caused the
Oh,
shot.
I don't know.
Because-
I don't know about
But
that.
Kyrie is an all-star, superstar player. Like making a shot is not the.
But they were shooting bricks for like minutes and minutes on end, like you said, and then he's just gonna come after that huge moment and just
it's gonna go.
But, okay.
bang that three off balance. Like it was a hard shot.
What you could also say though is that, does his block maybe change the mindset of the Warriors at that point, in terms of, okay, maybe it's a bit harder to get buckets, or squeezing their hands a bit tighter on every shot, because Iguodala can't even hit the layup when it seems like he's wide open. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Maybe it's the effect on the Warriors was worse than the effect on.
I agree.
I
agree.
don't-
But like when I remember that game, I just remember when Kyrie hit that shot, like it felt like that was the game.
Yeah, no, I
That was the
agree,
game.
but I'm saying that like the precursors to that, the block,
Yeah.
maybe was the bigger effect on Golden State saying, okay, maybe it's not our night, maybe it's not gonna happen. And this kind of goes to what I'm saying about fade, is that, like, you're wide open, you think you're gonna get a layup, and then it gets blocked, and even though LeBron
Crushed.
misses, you've already missed a bunch of shots, you can't even get a layup.
Yeah, it's
You
kind
know
of
what I'm
hard to judge the two like independently, because one led to the other. But like for me, when Kyrie, like, because that was such a difficult shot too.
Yeah,
it was
no, I agree.
It was like, to me, that was like the dagger of the game.
It was the
but
dagger,
I don't
but-
take away anything from LeBron's block. Like, it's really hard for me to judge the two separately.
They're
like
two
that.
huge plays, and I'm not trying to discredit, like
'Cause-
Miles is saying, like Kyrie's shot, and like say, well, Kyrie wouldn't have made it if LeBron didn't block it. Like, that's not what I'm trying to say.
Right.
It could have been a different player. Obviously, it's probably going to be Kyrie because he was the second most ball dominant guard, and LeBron obviously would just kick it to him because that's a different discussion. But basically, I'm saying that you can't argue that it brought something to the game.
No, I
after
agree.
that deadness.
But
after that
okay, this is
stillness.
why I'm saying it's hard to judge. Is like Cleveland doesn't win the game if the block doesn't happen, but Cleveland also doesn't win the game if Kyrie doesn't hit the shot. So
That's true.
like to me, it's like
They need each other.
very hard to like to me the two plays are very like dependent on each other.
Yeah, yeah.
But okay, so I want to ask. I think there's two different types of like plays that decide games. So we're talking about a play at the very end of a game that decides the outcome of a game. But what about plays that happen like in the middle of the game that shifts the momentum of where the game's going? So maybe not even plays. So I was thinking of, do you guys remember like the Ravens and 49ers Super Bowl? Where the Ravens were smacking the 49ers, the lights go out,
Right.
right? That's
yeah.
off the field even, but that
Right.
changed the momentum
Yeah,
of the
right,
game.
right,
And the
absolutely.
49ers stormed back and almost won
Yeah.
that game, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, do you think that plays in the middle of the game, because I think that's a better example of whether that changes, whether you can blame a win or a loss on that, because near the end of the game, it's probably easier to argue that yes, that one play probably determined the outcome of the game, but like in the middle of a game where a team still has like half the game to make up for whatever happened,
Right.
like do you think that could determine like that single play still determines the win or loss of the game?
For me, man, and like I guess I'll always go back to this. Sports is like all psychology to me at that level. When you're that elite, there's so much parity and skill and talent, and you're the best on the planet. What sets players apart are how mentally tough are you? How mentally consistent are you? How clutch are you? Everybody talks about being clutch. That's just being psychologically strong and
Yeah.
staying and sticking to your guns. If you can drill 50 in a row in the gym and then 50 in a row in the game, that's just psychological.
Right.
That's just how you perform. So I feel like that the psychological effect that happened to both teams after the lights went out and you're out of it, and you think about maybe an individual sport like track, like a false start, for example. Some idiot goes false start and then 8 friggin' runners are probably not going to run their PB now
Yeah.
because some idiot went, jumped the gun.
Yeah.
And that's just psychological, and it just messes with you. So an unprecedented like blackout in the Super Bowl, like that, of course, that's going to throw you out. And to see how that kind of just shaked everything up, like I think. You do see it in games sometimes, like you talk about the TSN turning point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a moment where a team just gets demoralized and everybody just checks out, and no matter what they do, the game's already written, and it's like you just feel that they're out of it. So I think you can't even argue that, like how big an impact of one play can be.
Right, and I think kind of going on to that, like, again, I'm not sure who had the ball in that case when that was going on, but I think this kind of goes into the portion of, like, teams icing games and, like, finishing games off. Something like that happens in the middle of a game, whether that's, their own fault or it's independent of what the players are doing, has a large effect on what's going on. So, like I was saying to you guys before, like in the World Juniors with Canada being up 3-0 in 2011, Cassian hits the post, and then Russia storms back in the third and wins 5-3. Like, if you can ice the game and finish it there in, the middle of the game, or probably not even, Russia doesn't even win, doesn't even stand a chance. But like you said, with the lights going out, with all that kind of stuff going on, it's like, it's hard to keep going when something happens that you just feel like, that could be, this could be it. I'm sure, before the lights go out, thinking, okay, we got the game sealed, maybe get a stop here. I'm not sure, again, if they had the ball, get a score here, and then, like, that'll be it. Lights go out, you get a chance to regroup and be like, okay, we still have a chance. Cassian misses, Russia goes in the room and says, okay, guys, we just got to get one goal. You get one goal first couple minutes, different hockey game. So
Exactly.
I think there's so many moments, like I was saying before, that like the game just kind of rides on, and like these sort of situations, I think in the middle of the game is almost the most important, because a team can still they can have a chance, and I think that's what kind of everything rides on psychologically, is that if you feel like you have a chance, you can still make something happen. But there are little moments that either go against that or for that change how you feel and how you play the game.
I think like you two especially are talking about moments that things that didn't happen that led to like a change of the circumstance,
Right.
whereas things like that actually did happen. You know what I mean? Like Cassian didn't score,
Right.
therefore Russia came back.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
the lights, like
Oh,
But the
I see
lights,
what you mean.
but the lights did go out.
Yeah.
The lights. did-
Maybe
and
that-
it's not like a play happening. It's like a play that didn't happen.
But like I don't
that-
think I don't think he's arguing the fact that it happened or not. It's the outcome happened or not. So like, it's not a matter. It's not a matter if it happened or not. It's like what exactly.
It
I also think it's just a matter of perspective, right? Because you could say LeBron made the block, or you could say Iguodala got blocked and didn't
Yeah,
make the layup. Right? So it's just,
exactly.
But,
It's a
but LeBron
perspective.
made the block.
yeah, exactly.
But he got
But
blocked.
if you're on Golden State's side, you could
You
say
got
that
blocked.
you could say that
What if
Iguodala
he didn't
didn't
get
make
blocked?
the layup.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that, like, I feel like the action is solely riding on LeBron. Is that what you guys are saying? Or
No,
you're
I'm
that-
saying it's just a like it's just a different perspective. you can take.
To what Matt was saying, yeah, like to what Matt was saying, he was just saying that, like, we're talking about how something didn't happen. Well,
Right.
it's a matter of perspective. If it didn't or did happen, it depends which team you're on. So like we're saying, Cassie didn't hit the post. Well, Rush
Just saying he didn't score.
he didn't score exactly.
okay.
So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it's interesting to, like, view it in different perspectives.
Yeah, but I think also the perspective is natural based on where you're in the situation. If you're winning or if you're losing, then that's gonna affect how you feel. The outcome of the situation was like riding on that one.
But okay, but do you guys agree with Matt and like my high school coach would have definitely said, yes, there was a play that like changed the momentum, like in like near like second quarter or third quarter,
Right.
whatever it was,
Yeah.
but you still had the entire like fourth quarter to potentially win that game. So Canada, they missed that shot, but like. And Russia's coming back, but they still had
The
time
whole
to
third.
finish the game.
I-
You can come up with countless examples, but do you think that it's fair to say that that one play caused them to lose, or do you think it's fair to say that the winning team still could have closed out the game?
I think that what we're talking about isn't an excuse. If I have two teams and when there's a change, there's a turning point, and the other team checks out, I don't think that's an excuse to stay checked out. If they end up losing the game and they just didn't overcome that, I don't think that's an excuse. But I think it's definitely there, and I've seen teams. We've all seen teams that have overcome that and just sustained as well as they could and just fought it off and fought off a rush. You see vehement comebacks that just didn't happen because the team just was this good to offset it and still get the dub. So I don't think it's an excuse. I don't think you can hang your head on being like, well, at least we lost because we just checked out and that's it. Like, you can overcome that, but I definitely think that a lot of teams don't, and you see a lot of comebacks happen because of that.
I know. I disagree with that. I think that, like, okay, let's say you're rolling, game's going fine, everything's whatever, and then, the lights go out, and it's like now your mojo's kind of like been squandered. Like, you're kind of like, okay, what are we doing? We're sitting around. We don't know when the lights are going back on, stuff like that. Like, your team, especially if you're winning, the kind of message on what's going on in your bench is very like you're going to be much more relaxed. If you're on the other side of the ball or you're losing the game, like the message in that time is okay, like we can use this as a rallying point. It's not like on the other side they're saying, okay, we can use this to rally, like whatever, we'll take a break. Like, I think that if you're losing, you have that sort of situation, you can use that to sort of polarize the direction your team is going. So you can take that and say, okay, you can get everyone together, like, okay guys, like we got to rally. This is our opportunity to make something happen. I just think that once that happens and once that sort of situation happens, it's hard to be that team on the other side that is winning, because once the other team feels that glimmer of hope that they can do something and they come out and they score, it's hard. Like, again,
What
easy.
do you disagree with exactly?
Everyone is quick to say that, like, oh, I don't think that a team has a chance to, like, I guess make up their lost effort or whatever. So like I'm saying, if you're winning and then the team starts coming back, I feel like you can't. There's almost nothing you can do. Like, I don't think you can start to play better to change the outcome. I think that it's all, like you're saying, in your head. Once the other team starts coming back, like.
I disagree.
I don't think you can, because like you said, we've seen it time and time again. Like, teams, as many teams have we seen, like, try to come back and like they just didn't have enough. We've seen teams lose it all.
I was gonna say, like, I agree with you in the point that when a team's coming back, it's a lot easier to be a team that was down and coming back than a team that's winning and trying to hold on to a lead. But we've seen, like, time and time again, like, you hear the phrase in sports, like, they held them off, they fended them off, and they still got the W. You know what I mean? So
yeah, but I think it's based on the severity of the situation.
I think it depends on the team. It depends on the team.
Because like the lights going on in the Super Bowl, and I don't know, you holding someone off in a regular season game when you're up 40, and let's say they came back and got it down to a field goal or something like that.
Let me try to understand. So you're saying that once that switch goes off, the winning team is helpless. It's just a matter of
Yes.
if the losing team has enough.
If they have enough to at that point, it's almost like
So
like,
the winning team has no say in the.
in your head. Once they start coming back, you start doing things out of the ordinary. Like you almost feel helpless, and I think we've seen that with like the Leafs against the Bruins. All these sort of things where it's just like a domino effect. Like you can't even stop them. Everything you do doesn't work.
So once that switch goes off, it's just
That's
a matter of the losing team if
They're
they
done.
can pull it out.
They're done. It's based on the losing team. They have complete power in the situation.
I think my coach would call BS on that.
I see what you're saying, and like to some degree you're right, but I just feel like there's scenarios where a winning team, a good team,
Yeah.
is mentally strong enough to just
Okay,
turn it back
let me
on.
give you an
That-
example.
no,
okay?
yeah.
Let me give you an example that I think
100%.
everyone can remember.
Okay.
I'll take you back to Game 6. No, not Game 6. Sorry. Texas Rangers,
Okay.
Toronto Blue Jays.
Right.
Jose Bautista, right?
Right.
Remember that 7th inning where I think it was 1-1. Russell Martin throws it off Chu's bat.
Yeah.
Texas Rangers take the lead.
Right.
It's either 2-1 or 3-2.
Right.
Took the lead, and you could argue the entire momentum of that game shifted there.
Right.
But the Toronto Blue Jays didn't let that one event ruin the game. They came back,
Yeah.
and Batista hit the 3-run home run, backflip, won the game, moved on to the next round of the playoffs. So I'm just saying,
Mhm.
there's examples of winning teams who they had every excuse to kind of crumble and say like it's just like it's fate today, but they were able to be mentally tough and kind of stick through it.
But in your example, I'm pretty sure the game was tied. Is what I'm saying. Is that like
No, the Rangers took the
Rangers
lead.
won up.
The
no.
Rangers took
But
the
what
lead.
I'm so you're saying that the Rangers, it was like that was on them losing the game. Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm saying the Rangers took the lead off a
Right.
fluke play.
Right.
The Blue Jays could have crumbled under that fluke play, but they didn't. They were mentally tough, and they rallied off two straight hits, and then Batista hit the home run.
Yeah, like see to me, like I think that's a different situation. Like I think I'm more so arguing like if a team is coming from there's a larger gap. Like your situation is a tie game. Like again, anything can happen. Usually something that happens on one side, the other team's gonna have an opportunity to sort of make amends with whatever fluke situation happened or whatever. Like I think that's a very different situation because
But it's a different. Baseball's a different sport.
no,
one run
it's a
can
different
feel like
it's
any-
a different sport. But I'm saying like, okay, let's say it's a hockey game and it's 1-1. And I don't know, a guy kicks the puck in and they count it as a goal, and then the other team scores, or it comes back and wins. Like I feel like that's like the same sort of situation. Like there are fluke situations that can happen that don't necessarily like destroy like the tide of an entire game.
So are you more so arguing from a loser's perspective, like they're losing currently and like their fight to win is completely contingent on them rather than the winning team offsetting them?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like for example, like with the Leafs losing to the Bruins, however many years ago in the Game 7,
You're saying the
collapse.
Leafs could like they were helpless.
I'm saying I'm
completely
saying
helpless.
I'm saying that what
don't-
I'm saying is that with teams, especially when you're up, that's what I'm saying is that once the glimmer of hope comes into that other team and you start to feel like you might be losing a little bit, it's hard to get back.
But can't
it's
you
just
argue
not
that
impossible.
championship teams
Exactly.
are the type
I'm
of
saying
teams
it's
that
team
can fight
specific
that?
because you saw the exact same thing with the Leafs last year against the Bruins, where they gave it up again. It's that team. It's a specific team. It's a lot of the same players are on the same team.
Yeah,
I think
but
like if the Patriots are up 14 and then some team comes back 14-14, I guarantee 90% of the time they're gonna win that game.
like maybe I just feel like it's very like it's hard to like it could be team specific, but I don't think it is as team specific as you guys are saying. I think there's so many teams that have again been great that have like crumbled or like not been able to sort of hold on to what was in
I
front
know
of
what you
them.
mean.
I-
But okay, let's go back to the Atlanta Patriots Super Bowl.
Okay.
Like that's a classic example of the Patriots like kind of getting that momentum, and it looks like Atlanta can't do anything to win that game, right?
Right.
But like Atlanta fully could have won that game if they just made one or two plays that I think more mentally tough teams would have been able to make.
Exactly.
Like Atlanta was a great team, but they
Mhm.
weren't a championship pedigree team.
I feel like it has a lot to do with mental toughness, not just momentum.
I think experience too. If you go
But
through
yeah,
the
but then
moment-
exactly. So
if
maybe
you,
based off
if you've
what I'm
gone through
saying.
the moment and actually like fended off a team in a big moment, like as the Patriots have in how many playoffs they've been in,
Right.
I think they're to a point where like they're used to it, and to them it's not really a big thing if they're up
Mhm.
14 and a team scores a couple touchdowns on them.
And we're I don't think any of us are disagreeing with you because that's fully a phenomenon and it happens frequently
Yeah, it does.
where a great team will come back and like a winning team is literally just helpless.
Right.
They're at their mercy.
Mhm.
But I just think it's too hyperbolic to be like it's completely on the losing team if they can just pull it out, and the winning team is completely helpless. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not black and white like that.
Yeah, I would agree that maybe it is more so team specific because, like you said, if you've been in the situation X amount of times and you're kind of able to fend off the adversity. But I just think that there's like sometimes you almost can't will yourself to get back to where you were. Like doesn't matter
For sure.
how well the game's going. It's like everything is almost against you. This is what I was trying to say about fate, and I think that a lot of sports is like fate. And I don't know if where you guys stand on this, but I think there's so many situations, opportunities for, like you guys were saying, it depends on how you look at the situation, where maybe it just comes down to fate, and it's not even necessarily what the team was able to do. So like even this year in the World Juniors, like Finland scores with I don't know however many seconds left, it bounces off 3 people, goes between DiPietro's arm, you get a penalty shot, you miss, and then you have a wide open net, guys stick breaks, and then they come back down and score off the defenseman's stick. Like to me that's fate. So I think that like there's a lot of aspects of maybe it's just fate more so than momentum, and I don't know where you guys stand on this, but I feel like
another example would be like the Warriors overall. All of the championship runs all together kind of goes against everything we've been saying. Now that I think about it, is they win 2 championships, or they win a championship, and then so they have the experience of winning a championship. They're known as a championship team. Then next year LeBron comes, they're up 3-1 and they lose in Game 7.
Right.
Whereas what we're saying is if they had that experience in their championship team, if they're up 3-1 and maybe the Cavs win 2 games or 1 game and they're like it's 3-3 or 3-2, they should still win the series. But then they come back the next year and prove that they can still win. So it's kind of like a mix of everything, and it kind of goes against everything we've been saying the last.
Yeah.
One question I want to pose to you guys, and we haven't. I guess it's more specific to like the Saints example. Like, do you think a referee contingent play can be this like single play that costs the game, or should you never leave the game in the ref's hands? Should you? That's because you can argue that that's an excuse to just be like, well, that one play. What about Sean Payton throwing on first down?
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? Like nobody's talking about that.
I would normally
be
on that side, but when a call is that blatantly missed, it's really hard for me to take that position.
No, I'm not. I agree. Like I think it was an egregious call. Like it was brutal, and it was probably the worst.
But that's not even it. It wasn't the fact that the call was brutal. It was just that literally would have determined the game.
No.
If the right call was made, the Saints would have won the game.
I know, but like you could, if you look at the Saints drive and like the way Breeze was playing, and like there's so many other things you could look at. That's like they literally easily could have won the game. They could have,
but if the ref made the right call, they would have also won the game.
And that's something you can't ignore. And I'm not saying that, and like the league's looking at it right now. But no, literally, they're literally looking at it. Because people are outraged. But I don't know. I feel like your coach has always told you guys, most likely growing up, never leave it in the ref's hands. You need to be the team that plays better.
Right.
That a call can't sway the game. Right. So are you really going to be like, well, it's the ref's fault we didn't go to the Super Bowl, or it's the fact that we threw on friggin' first down and we're not going to the Super Bowl?
If it's 2 high-level elite teams, whether it's high school sports, college, professional sports, I think the discrepancy between the 2 teams is so small that if it's a blatant, not just a bad call, but a blatant bad call, then it affects the team so much, because then to you it's like, this game is not in my hands, I'm not controlling the game, I'm not going out there and making a play.
Right.
This ref is making a blatant bad call to go against our team, and I can't control anything that happened.
Right.
So I think when it's like elite level competition, then it matters. If it's just like your everyday whatever intramural game and the ref makes a bad call, like whatever. But I think when you're in that elite competition, it's like a huge deal.
And I don't know. There is a number of there's like compilations that are made, a lot of missed calls that are made throughout the game. But I understand how blatant the call was and how obvious it was. It could definitely throw off a team's psyche. But I think that a team like the Saints, a guy like Drew Brees, he should be able to overcome something like that. I mean, he's been around the league so long. He's one of the most savvy quarterbacks in the league. Like he's the most emotional, passionate, inspirational quarterback ever. Like besides Brady. But
I know Breeze is a legend.
But so like the fact that they, I guess, let that control their fate is something that I'm like, okay, well they blew the call, so that's why, and like New Orleans is up in arms and the States is up in arms. Like I'm like, okay, but like there's a lot of other things you can do, and I respect the team that's like, well, yeah, there was a bad call, but you know what, we did this, and this wrong before that call, so if we don't do that, the call doesn't even matter. So that's my kind of look on it. It's kind of like, yo, he made a bad call, whatever, but is that the reason you're going to the Super Bowl or not? Well, you can look at your past too. I'm responsibility first, kind of.
Yeah. What I would quickly say is that, first of all, like you said, it was first down, so like you said, more opportunities to sort of make up for what had happened. So there's that. But also, like, and now I don't know if like I'm taking away what I said from you guys before about maybe agreeing with team specific thing, because like you're saying, like Drew Brees and the Saints have a degree of pedigree around them, and like you're saying about the Warriors, like that's almost maybe reiterating why I'm saying why I feel so strong about how I don't even think it's about the team or like what you've been through before. Like I feel like it's just situationally, like the situation. Sorry, the one player situation or whatever can overpower you to a point where like you don't know what to do, or you feel helpless. And I think maybe that's where they kind of felt like Matt was saying, like we can't do anything because we almost feel like the refs are against us. And whether it's refs, whether it's refs or not, I just feel like there's enough in the situation where you just can't. And that's what I'm saying. If the losing team can take advantage, it's purely up to them. Whether they're able to capitalize on the situation or what the refs were unable to do, or how vulnerable the team is, I think that's purely based on the losing team.
I don't think we've ever seen a call that bad in that big of a moment.
True.
Like, I can't recall something that momentum changing.
And if they call the penalty, they get the first down, and
Exactly.
the Saints win. That's the only thing. Like,
It's like that's
I agree. I don't think Breeze even played that great. I think the Saints
played really bad. Dude.
And Breeze got the ball in overtime. He had a chance to win the game, and he threw a pick, which is really the reason they lost. But Saints fans can also say it should have never even gone to overtime, and it's hard to.
Now we're
argue
getting
that.
into philosophical debates of the butterfly effect. You know what I mean? So like, it's tough. It's a tough discussion to have, but I don't know. Great teams don't let fate decide for them, man. You know what I mean? They just win.